everyone, it's Michelle from Scrap Secrets and welcome to the Team Tiny Holiday Hop. This hop is a hashtag driven hop, so if you click on the hashtag in the title of the video, everybody who is participating's video will appear for you. So if you don't know, Team Tiny is a group of crafters that have less than 1,000 subscribers, so we really appreciate every like, comment, and subscription as we grow our channel. So today, the theme for the hop is Slimline cards, and I'm going to be using 2 stamp sets from Kindred Stamps to create this interactive card, as well as a die from MFT that is not meant to be interactive, but I'm going to show you how you can make it interactive. The 2 stamp sets are Kindred Stamps Festive Furries and Holiday Unicorns, and we're going to be stamping them out onto some white cardstock because we're going to be Copic coloring. There are the 2 stamp sets. We picked 4 images and 4 sentiments from the stamp set, and then I cut a piece of paper from the Love Nicole Christmas paper pack. That's an AC Moore paper pack, so unfortunately it's not available anymore, but you can use something very similar from your stash or create your own cardstock. So we're going to be taking this MFT die that is an ornament, I believe, or it can be a tag. Actually, it is a tag. Sorry, not an ornament. And this is how we're going to create the interactive mechanisms. So I took that and ran it through my Cuttlebug 3 times, 2 to the left and 1 time to the right, and then lined up the images on the inside of that on a piece of white cardstock. We're going to stamp these down with some Catherine Pooler Midnight ink to make sure that the images show through onto the white piece of cardstock. So I'm going to line it up in my MISTI and stamp those down, like I said, with the Catherine Pooler Midnight ink. Now, what my thought was for this whole process was to actually take that piece, this piece here, the pattern piece, and run it through my Cuttlebug and do partial die cutting. Unfortunately, because it was a 9-inch long piece, I couldn't do that, so I had to come up with another method. So I'll show you in a couple minutes how I decided to attach it, but that's why I didn't do partial die cutting. That was my original thought and my original plan, and if I didn't do a slimline card, I probably would have been able to do this. So I stamped it down a couple of times because they're newer images, so I had to stamp them down a couple times. So we are going to be using the same color combination for the whole entire thing. So that was G29, G9, and G5 for all of the greens. And for the reds, it was R89, R59, and R39. So the reds and the greens were the darker, more like forest green and maroon reds, which are more similar to the paper rather than the bright red and bright green of more traditional colors. So I'm only going to show a couple of the images being colored in because it was essentially the exact same process, and these images were not very big. I didn't want to waste a lot of time showing you guys the coloring because it was very repetitive. So you're only going to see a little bit of the coloring in here. But when I go in with the darkest colors, you'll see that I hold the marker basically straight up and down because I only wanted a little bit of that ink to touch the paper because I didn't want too much of that really dark color. So that was R89, then R59 I went in with, and now I'm going in with R39 as the lightest color to fill in that section. Now I'm taking my white gel pen and dotting little 3 dots on their cheeks to kind of give them that cute little character look, just a little bit of something, because all of the images are white. Now I did go over that with C1 and C0 because white images are always still going to have a shadow, so they're not going to be truly white. I'm just lining up the panel, and then we are going to use some MFT On Point Precision Glue to glue this panel to our white piece of cardstock. Now I didn't line it up perfectly. I actually made little tick marks, which I don't know that you can see on here, with a pencil on there just to kind of line them up, but I didn't pay attention to that when I put them together. So I just want to make sure that the hinge part is on the same side as the way the character is looking. That's why I did 2 characters looking to the left and 1 character looking to the right. So I wanted to kind of line that up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put that image in, and I'm seeing which images go where, because even though the lines are the same, you can actually turn them around to make them look like it was lined up, but there are like that line on the bottom didn't line up with some of them. Okay, so now I'm scoring where the circle meets that top piece, the little topper where you would put your string if you were going to make this into a tag. So I scored all 3 of them, and then we are going to take some MFT On Point Precision Glue, the same glue that we used to glue the panels together. We're going to glue the circles on. So you just want to make sure you get glue on the circle for the one that is on the right, you want to make sure it's to the right of the score mark. The ones on the left, you want to make sure it's to the left of the score mark. You just that little circle. Oh, I'm sorry, we're not going to do that. We're actually going to emboss first, because we're going to heat emboss the 3 sentiments on there. And yes, I said 4 because we actually stamp an image and a sentiment on the inside. But right now what I'm doing is I'm taking a cloth and just kind of going over the paper just to try to get off some of the oils that were on there. And I lined up the sentiments to make sure that the right sentiment went with the right circle and the right image, because the images kind of, I chose the one that fit best with each of the images. Now we're going to take some Martha Stewart Dove embossing powder. This is so old. This is probably almost 10 years old, because embossing was one of the very first techniques I learned how to do. And I've got these powders probably almost 10 years ago at this point. You'll see that I flick off all the extra powder. The first one was the one that had the most excess powder on it, but then I take a paintbrush with a very thin bristles and then just go around and wipe off that excess as best as I can. It didn't have to be perfect because there were white lines on there, and I'm not a everything is perfect kind of crafter. So once I was happy with that, I will put the stray embossing powder back into the container, and then we're going to get ready to heat it up. So what I did was I made sure that my heat gun was nice and hot before I brought it to these pieces of paper, because they are thin. And then we're going to go over all the images and heat emboss them. And you can see that they turn like that bright white after they are done being embossed. So you can see the difference between the embossed piece and the non-embossed piece. And I apologize for not being able to get a great camera angle for embossing yet. I'll have to figure that one out. I still haven't figured that out. So you can kind of see it there. That one, the E got a little bit messed up. One of the, the sparkle one. One of the pieces of paper flew into that before I got a chance to emboss it. So, but you're not going to be able to tell. So here's where we're going to put the glue on there. And I did save the fallout pieces from those, and I wanted to glue those back in, so you can't really tell that it was, because it kind of looks like an ornament, and I thought, do I want to leave it like that? Do I want to tie a bow around it? Or do I just want to make it look like a hinge? And I decided to just make it look like a hinge. Now you could completely turn these right side up. You didn't have to have them to the sides. 3 would barely fit if you did that. But I think that what you could do is do kind of a tower of ornaments, one facing to the left, one facing to the right kind of thing, and have them kind of stacked on each other, and do something like that. And then have the, maybe have some ribbon on the top of it. There's a lot of different things you can do. But when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you kind of create a hinge. You could do this with a circle and then just do the same thing that I did and score, and then just part of the circle doesn't open. You could do something like that. So I got my ATG gun and was putting a lot of glue on it because the top is embossed. It's a couple layers, and I just wanted to make sure that it sticks down nice. So the card base is 3 3/4 by 9 inches. The piece of cardstock is 3 1/2 by 9. So I wanted it to touch top to bottom and then just have a nice border on both of the sides. So now now that the outside is done, we are going to work on the inside. And I decided to take one of the sentiments as well as one of the stamps and stamp those in on the inside. Now, I was pretty brave. I could have used my MISTI, but I decided not to. I just decided to use a stamping block and use the Catherine Pooler Midnight Ink to stamp them down. And I've never inked up these images before, so that was kind of brave of me to do that, because generally you don't get a great impression on the first time, and some of it was a little faded, but I'm okay with it. So now I am using that image at the bottom of the unicorn wrapping a couple of presents, and we're going to stamp that down at the bottom. I don't traditionally do the inside of my cards, but for some reason today I decided that I wanted to use that fourth image and that fourth sentiment, so I went ahead and did it. So now we are going to color the inside. So I took a Spectrum Noir clear sparkle pen and went over the pom-pom on the end of his hat as well as the trim on it. And then I took the red sparkle pen and went over his hat. I also added a little bit to the wrapping or the bow on the presents that he was wrapping. So one bow was red. One bow I went in with the clear sparkle pen. So you can't really tell on here, but there are sparkles in this. So I just wanted to give it a little bit of color. I didn't want to color the whole thing in with Copic markers because it would have bled through the back. I could have stamped it out, colored it with Copic markers, and then put it on the inside or done a white panel inside. But I didn't want to do another layer. I thought that the 2 layers on the front plus the card base was a lot, and I didn't want to use any more cardstock. So after I finished decorating the inside of the card, I decided I wanted to add a little bit more to the front. So we're going to go back with some Nuvo drops and add a little bit to the fur on the lamb's hat. And we're also going to go in with some Glossy Accents for the ornaments on the lamb as well as the llama. And then when I was looking at it, I realized that the unicorn needed a little bit of something, so I took the Glossy Accents and went around the outlined part of his mouth and just put that on there to give it a little bit of depth and dimension to the unicorn. And that's it for the card for today. I hope that you guys enjoyed this interactive element to the Slimline card. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them below, and I'm going to show you a bunch of pictures of the card close up. Thank you guys so much for watching and hopping along with us and commenting and subscribing. It really does mean a lot to us. And I will see you guys again real soon for another video.